Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome to Aquarian Anarchy. I am Chad. I got to move my my camera over a little bit so that the A isn't in my face. We got Jonesy the Podfather in the house. Real quick before we introduce Jonesy and bring him on, I want to remind everybody: go to the Patreon. Go to the like, share, and subscribe buttons. You know how to do the thing. I'm like fucking up. I just got here. Like I breezed in from my son's basketball game, and holy shit, it is a nerve-wracking time. Also, don't forget you can watch this broadcast. The LibreTV.co network is up and running. We are simulcasting here and there. Here and here on YouTube and on LibreTV.co. Speaking of which, if you want to show this podcast some love and give us some money, you can go over there right now. I got the chat pulled up over here. I got the chat for the YouTube thing pulled up, but really, so the reason I wanted to bring that up is we can get paid. You can give us some money love over there in the Libre chat. We still don't have enough subscribers on YouTube to get that kind of money. That's right, Jonesy. We need 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, but we are already monetized on Libre TV. So shout out to Saul, shout out to Corey. They are putting it together over there, and fuck YouTube because we're still not good enough for them to monetize us. So we would like to be moving everything over there eventually. We're simulcasting there, so go there and show them your support. Without further ado, the man who needs no introduction because he and Marcus are in love.
Look, hold on.
We started it.
You start with this nonsense already.
I couldn't not start with it.
Listen, first of all, Hotep Nebuchadnezzar, don't you start. Listen, you know the reason why I love Marcus? Because one, Marcus successfully pulled off the Menage a Three, the Mo Better, the funky shit. You know what I'm saying? Two, Marcus speaks his mind. He's wild just like me. You know what I'm saying? And I respect him.
Right,
the man was a freaking campaign delegate for Adam Kokesh, for God's sakes. I not respect that.
So was Chad.
I wasn't Adam's campaign manager though.
That's what I'm saying. You were.
I was the Swiss Army knife who did a bunch of stuff and never really got anything done. So,
yeah, listen, you were a small blip on the Adam Kokesh train. So, listen, don't you talk about my fully heterosexual admiration for the man with this beautiful background.
That is a beautiful background.
Man. Listen, I got people in my family that haven't done half of the shit for me that Marcus has done.
Facts. Same here, man.
It's purely heterosexual. But the thing that we got to look into is with farting. The person who smelt it dealt it.
So you're saying that me bringing it up means that I'm actually jealous of the love affair between you and Marcus?
I know all the ladies out there know I'm way out of your league.
Right. Like Chad's all jealous.
Yeah, man, y'all are fucking tripping. Oh man. But anyway, no, look, seriously, dude. Thanks for coming on. We love it. I see you rocking the gear. I love that too. Thank you for showing the support. We love it. Shout out to Daryl and Hotep Jesus, who kind of made that whole concept come together, made it happen. It started off when Daryl said, "Make America rebel again." And we were like, that should be a shirt. And so then we made the shirt. And then Brian was like, I need that thing to say, "Make Anarchy Great Again." And Marcus was like, done and done. Let's go. So here we go. We have the clothing line of the Aquarian Anarchy podcast. And Jonesy is sporting the gear. I love it.
Right on.
Something that I believe in. It's funny. A lot of people don't realize how much they believe in actual anarchy when they know what it is and how it's explained. And I remember a couple of months ago, it was in the summertime, we were all on a Mogul Summit chat, and you and Marcus were explaining what anarchy actually is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I'm thinking, you guys are talking about we're going to go out here and burn shit up and hurt people and stuff like that. And when you guys actually explained it, it actually spoke to me.
That we don't fuck with that shit, and that we're more about the peaceful
Love, peace, and
voluntary
freedom, man.
interaction. Yeah,
That's
right.
right.
You know,
That's right.
they always do that with connotations. Actually, with this book that I presented to y'all last week, they attached the title barbaric and infidel
Really?
to black people. Yeah,
Uh,
barbaric subhuman to black people. So they like to play with words. You gotta watch it. You gotta watch it because in all actuality, I ain't light anything on fire as of recently except for a candle. So it's like
right.
I just be
You telling me you didn't light anything? You said you were going to. Did you light something for the show? You did light it. Okay. All right. All right.
yeah.
Hey. All right, my man. Yeah, he was
Hey,
just talking
hey,
before we got
yo.
on here about what am I going to light? What am I going to smell? So, no, seriously, dude. Thanks for coming on. I'm excited about this because we've talked a lot off air.
Yeah.
We do the Jean Core project and everything, and that's fun. And
Yeah.
we have our own objectives there, but I appreciate and I'm looking forward to an opportunity to just kind of just chill and chop it up with you about all the different things that we talk about on a regular basis, and then kind of exploring those topics a little bit more with our audience too, because I'm looking forward to hearing from them as well. So
For sure.
I am.
I want to add to the admiration for Jonesy as well. I've watched or listened to several of your podcasts, and
Thanks,
not
guys. I appreciate it.
hey, it's part of it, man. Like I've told you before, we're in this together. It's going to take all of us to get to freedom. It just that's what it is. And one of the things that I enjoy particularly about your podcast is you are real. And you're right. You're like you and I have a lot in common in that we speak our minds, we tell you what we think, and we don't give a flying fuck what other people think about that.
Thank you.
And but I enjoy the fact that for instance, the last one that I listened to was a couple of weeks ago, and you moved from like the general news topics of the day right into culture and talking about different subjects, from everything from sports to those kinds of ideas. And the thing that people miss a lot when they're dealing with their lives is the least important thing that we deal with is politics. It's the least important thing. It's about, coming together and getting that shit out of our way so that we can come together. So, from my point of view, and Chad, if you're wanting to take it a different way,
no, go ahead. I'm trying to make sure with Saul that we're actually on
Libra.
Libre. Yeah, like
We still have a bit of an echo too. I don't know where it's coming from.
Yeah, and I was hearing that too, but
Is it from my black ass? Is it?
No.
Y'all just wanna. Y'all just wanna. Go ahead.
I don't know where it's from.
Hey, I've been the scapegoat once in this show. Go ahead.
For sure. No, but
Is it me?
Jonesy, I wanted to know what your typical the typical mindset of a lot of Black people in this country are totally different than yours. You have much more of an eyes wide open kind of mentality, and I'm curious where that came from. How did that integrate into your own worldview?
Well, my worldview has always been developed by, the different places that I've been. I'm a guy who has lived, in the suburbs. I've lived in the projects.
Mm-hmm.
I've been all around. I've traveled, you know what I mean? And I have, a multitude of different influences based off of the friends I had growing up. I have friends of all different races, creeds, religions, and to be honest with you, I think that there's a narrative that people have. I have this unique narrative, right? Like, or Nicco does, right? But that's not really the case. What they'll show you is that, everybody's lock in step with the Democratic Party. Everybody's lock in step with Christianity. Everybody's lock in step as far as the Black community goes. And these are the people that they put up there to show to the general public. But there are a lot more brothers that think like me, that think like Nicco, that think like Hotep, that think like than you would like to believe.
Mm-hmm.
Trust me, it's a lot more. Like when I go to a barbershop, it's not like I stick out like a sore thumb when we're chopping it up. We all kind of have our own spin and bounce on the way we think things should work. But the one thing I do know is that we know that the way that things are currently constituted are totally messed up. Now we might disagree on certain points of that, but everybody, when to a man, and Nicco, I don't mean to speak for you, but I know when I sit down and I talk to other brothers, we all kind of are around the same idea. We might not totally agree, but we're all around the same kind of premise to where we know that what's been going on is not it.
Yeah. Yeah, and to me, it seems as though you're right, and to me, it's the same reason. What you're getting at, people, and nothing against Martin Luther King Jr. or anything like that, but people want to focus on him because he was an easier image for white men to see. They don't want to focus on Malcolm X. They don't want to see that powerful black man standing in front of them saying, "This ain't fucking fair, and I'm going to fight for it." And with Martin Luther King Jr., they saw a lighter touch, and that was probably on purpose. And then of course, white people had to still go and kill him. But at the end of the day, they didn't brutalize him in the media. They didn't brutalize him like they did Malcolm X. And so I agree with you. I see what you're saying. For me, I tend to gravitate towards people of African descent. And maybe that's because, my spirit's black or something. I don't know, but maybe I just like soul food. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I tend to gravitate towards black people. And I think and Chad's the same way. And I think a lot of that is because there's a lot of honesty there. I think the black culture has an honesty that white culture generally doesn't have. We got to put up a front.
Speak for yourself, Marcus. Damn it! No, I'm just joking.
Well, most white people, and us accepted, of course, but most white people try to put up some kind of fucking image that they want people to see. And they want that to be the white, for lack of a better term, but the white plainness of whatever the establishment is. And from the beginning, in this country, Africans were constantly the instrument of change. Whether you're talking about because in the Boston Massacre, the first person killed in the Revolutionary War was a black man, and right, exactly. And so that kind of rebellion they've always stamped down, and they can't.
Well, see, the thing is, that's a real nuanced kind of way to look at things. Mm-hmm. What I feel is that a lot of times, you have the exception and you have the rule, right? So in this society was based up and to take the resources from this untapped land. Mm-hmm. Europe was in trouble at that point. You know what I mean? People were fighting over the resources, and you had 9 nations that came over here, and they raced over here to get all of the resources, all of the gold, all of the land, and they did that through chattel slavery, right?
Oh, sure.
So we know this, and we know that we had Portugal, we had Spain, we had Great Britain, we had France, we had all those 9 nations, and that's where the construct of race was kind of started. Because before then, race really doesn't really come into play. Like a lot of times, if you look at some of a lot of the art from back in the 1700s, the 1600s, you see the Moors in Spain in the background in the paintings. You see a lot of prominent, affluent black people that migrated over that were already in Europe. There were a lot of black people that were already here in this country. We're not going to get into that, but it's more so the fact that I think that this country was built off of the construct of making white people the rule and us the exception.
For sure.
And it's been kind of hard to undo that kind of it's almost like it's not like a spell, but it's something that's very, very hard to undo when that's been the reality of the country since its inception.
For sure. And they also set about destroying the Native American population and doing everything they could to destroy it because it was a competition. One of the things that influenced me massively was the story of the Sioux Nation, and with Red Cloud and Sitting Bull and Crazy Horse. And those motherfuckers weren't playing, and they controlled 1/5 of this country. And they defeated the United States military in an all-out war, and the American military had to surrender to them. Where's that in your history books? Where is it? We lost.
The victor goes the spoils.
You can't glorify you're your enemy, you know, especially if they have a little man complex, you know, that's all it is like, if we go to like what real history is, Black people won't get offended. We've already been offended, and we keep getting offended due to the narrative that's pushed onto us on the daily. Now they're trying to pamper to us, and they're getting the right but wrong people. So it's like everything that you really look at is all about ego in a sense. So you don't, they want to just make sure that the people's egos who will get hurt aren't hurt due to that. And, you know, that's why they, in the South, you go down and listen to go into their history classes, it's completely different from what's up north. They glorify certain things down south a lot more than they would up north, but at the end of the day, there's still a difference in the rhetoric of schooling, and that's so backwards. Like, therefore, people will have different understandings, and therefore, there still leads a divide.
Well, you know what? The easiest way to divide people is by color. You know, like it's a lot harder to divide people by religion in a predominantly Judeo-Christian society, and religion is not something that people normally wear outwardly.
Right.
You know, like you wouldn't know what religion I am. I wouldn't know what religion you are, Marcus or Nicco. You know, like we wouldn't know unless we had a conversation. But the one thing that defines you is the way you look. So it's easier for the state to divide everybody by this construct of race.
Right.
It's very, very easy. And the thing is that we all know that it is wholly in their benefit to keep the people that are in the working class divided, because you can control them.
Have you had any instances where, like, well, I can't say before you waking up and realizing things, have you had instances where you easily felt a divide opposed to the narrative? So like you said, you grew up in the suburbs, you grew up in the hood and other places. Did you feel initial divide once you were in the suburbs? Like, did you feel any kind of?
Oh yeah, like, you know, when you are around, like, and a lot of times, you know, sometimes it's an economic thing, but the one thing about human beings is we are all prideful, right? And we all want to feel like we're better than the next man, right? So that's just something that we can't shake. And you know, growing up around like white kids and stuff like that, you know, they'll try to separate themselves from you, or they'll try to, you know, say little things, or they'll try to bully you or whatever like that. And you know, the thing was, I'm the toughest kid in school, so you can't bully me, right? So then it got to a point where it was like, you know, I'm whipping everybody's ass every day. The teachers, you know, pulling me out of class and saying that I got a problem. Then, you know, like, you know, growing up,
you started it, right?
Well, yeah, I started it. You know what I mean? And then plus, it's not fair because I used to box and shit growing up. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? No, my father, you know, was a fighter, and you know, my dad trained me and my brother, and like my nephew's a national champion now. Like, I fought until after my father passed, and then I stopped. But I was a trained fighter, so I was going to school whipping kids' asses.
Where'd you grow up?
Me, I grew up in Jersey. I grew up in Newark, and then, you know, we moved to the suburbs, and then I moved back to Newark as an adult. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, the thing is that, you know, for me, it's like, you know, yeah, we got those definitely racial issues. It was the 80s. Things were a little different. Kids weren't as nice as they are now. You know what I mean?
I asked that because
I've been called tar baby, all of that shit, you know.
I grew up in the suburbs. You know, I first originally stayed with my aunt in the hood, so I had hella hood mannerisms growing up. And then went out into the suburbs, and my stepmom helped tame those a little bit and curve them. But you know, since we're in different time periods, I want to get a peek into like the racial tension of now and then. You know, we have white kids back in Homewood, and things weren't that bad. Granted, I was real cool with everybody. Nobody fucked with me. I was cool on both sides. I knew both sides of the school going into the major school we were going into. But you know, it's a difference. You know, there's a major difference because of the time period.
What is hip hop? Because what happened was in the early 80s, we had, you know, little, you know, everybody, like, we were mean kids. Like Marcus will tell you, Chad will tell you, we were mean growing up in the 80s. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody got fucked with. It's like you got fucked with until you show people that you weren't to be fucked with, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're just more aggressive because we didn't have
Mm-hmm.
adults around to always curate all of our fun. You didn't have people around watching you all the time. We were left to our own devices.
Yeah,
You'd go
it's a
outside,
different age.
do whatever you did, and when you came back for dinner at night, your parents would never know where the fuck you were at.
Mm-hmm.
It's been times when I was a kid.
Fact.
I remember me and my buddies, we were fucking 11 years old, and we took the train to the Bronx to see a Yankee game. And we were 11. You know what I mean?
Right.
My mother cries when I tell her about that. Now, she has no idea where the fuck we were, what we were doing, but it was different. So everybody said their little racial shit, and everybody fought. But at the end of the day, we kind of all got along too. But when hip hop came into play and hip hop became more popular, me being who I am, me being a hood kid, me dressing the way I dress, me acting the way I act, I went from being a kid who was fighting all the time to being the most popular kid in school.
Mm.
So it was like, I think, so like, it's kind of like, it's weird for me because elementary school, you get a little tongue-in-cheek racism. A lot of that shit is immaturity. Kids regurgitate shit they get from their parents.
Right.
You know, like, it's like, if it wasn't, oh, you're black, oh, you're a girl, you're a guy, whatever, your hair's fucked up. You know, that's how we were in the 80s, right? But in the 90s, I was the man. You know what I mean? You know, so it was just, it's weird to really say, but, you know, not to ramble, but you know, it's just very unique, the time period that we grew up in as opposed to different.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. I realized, you know, I had a lot of maturing to do as a young age because I had so many siblings. So, I mean, I had my period of time and all that, but seeing how certain people interact with like family settings, you see how a mother interacts with their kid and how the dynamic is completely different due to the time of ages. And, you know, that's just with time and with every generation and whatnot. But
every
you most
generation
definitely see
trying to take some cut off of the way that they raise you up. Like my mother and them, they'll tell you, growing up in the South, kids were seen and not heard, you know? And then when we were growing up, you couldn't say too much back to your parents. And now I have my children having fucking dissertations with me and actually,
dude, my head would still be spinning, and if I had said some of the shit that my kids say to me, like I'd have gotten jack slapped so hard for saying some of the shit that my kids say to me, and I'm like, look, you're lucky I'm not one of those like beat the fuck out of you kind of people. Well, here's what we're gonna do. You're gonna be doing 3 times. You're gonna mow the grass 4 times, even though you already cut it. You're gonna just run over it again some more times. You know, like it's just I have to do these other things that
just bring back the old school disciplines. Have his ass sit down and write the words 100 times.
Oh yeah, dude.
That's not old school discipline, Nico. Old school discipline
is ass whooping. Yeah,
right. That was middle school discipline. It was like
right. Middle school.
In between the old school and the new school, that in between period, I had this brother at the school I went to. He had us do. It would be like, Lemoyne, give me 9 to the 37th power, and you had to write that whole thing out. Then that was when we were like 8th grade.
I'd have got kicked out of school. I'd have been like, "Fuck you." That's what it's called.
You feel me?
It was like 9 to the 37th power.
7 to the 56th power, dude. That number would be so long. You'd have to write all the way to the end of the page, and then you'd have to write more numbers underneath it. You know how hard it was to keep calculating that shit by the time you got to the end? Holy shit!
I'm not doing that shit, bro. Just give me another. I'll be back tomorrow.
Just start writing my detention now, G.
For sure. But all that's cool, and I agree. But I want to jump back because I really think you're onto something with hip hop. Because I remember, I'm an old metalhead, but I remember when NWA came out. I was like, these motherfuckers are what I'm talking about, because I've always been a rebellious kid. I remember screaming. Yeah, I know it's shocking, but I remember when NWA came out and they were doing Beyond the Fuck the Police and all that stuff. when they came out, I was like, oh shit, this is what I'm talking about. And then you follow that up with everything that happened after that, whether you're talking about Snoop or you're talking about Dre or you're talking about any of the, especially the West Coast, which was what influenced me. But you also had the overlapping, like, for instance, Aerosmith did their thing with Run DMC.
Yeah.
You had Anthrax that was doing some rapping.
Bring the noise of Public Enemy, yeah.
Public Enemy, right. And so you had this crossover of culture because, and what I think it is, and this has been destroyed nowadays with most hip hop and all metal, is that you had that free thinking, rebellious nature coming out and being expressed. And I think that you're right, though, that is the key to what happens to the Black community coming into its acceptance, if you will, in American culture, at least on a cultural level. Now, I dream.
He said about rapping to white kids and stuff like that. It was it's like, look, man, the money's there.
Right.
This is the funny thing, though. This is the dirty little secret in America. Black culture is American culture.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
The only art form to ever come out of America was the blues.
Right.
Right.
Wait. I would like to point out. I'd like to point out that we as Black people kind of failed our ancestors for being simply okay with Black History Month. Hotep Jesus says it all the time, and it just resonates. It makes sense. We are America. We are the culture of the world. We created everything. Anything you go back to, they say that it was created by this man. Well, you better go check a little bit deeper because there was somebody who was a little bit.
You're about to slander Elvis Presley now. Come on.
But yes, see, Nico, to the victor goes the spoils, right? To the victor goes the spoils.
Yeah,
so in this,
you're right. Absolutely right.
Time, we kind of give ourselves too much credit as far as humanity. So humanity is a lot older than we would like to think. A lot of people think that humanity started doing Christianity. I think we've had multiple ice ages. I believe humanity is so much older than people really think. And there were predominantly Black cultures for eons, man. And now the time that we're in now, that's not what's going on now. But what we need to realize is that to the victors goes the spoil. You can't have the white side of the coin without the Black side of the coin. It's not possible. And America does not want to own up to that fact. You can't have a society that's built on a foundation of nothing.
Right.
To your point, Jonesy, people can go research that. They are uncovering right now. Of course, the COVID's shut some of that shit down, but they're uncovering a lot of what you're talking about all over Africa. They're finding the older and older and older cultures. You're absolutely right.
Well, they found that shit. They covered it up. That's the problem. They found that shit
anthropologists.
Whoever said the people right in New Orleans by Chad. Right in New Orleans, they had like a whole civilization in New Orleans that predates ancient Egypt.
Right here, what is it? Graham Hancock says that they don't want to continue. There's some tool that basically does an MRI on the fucking world and can see deep. And anthropologists are like, oh, we don't gotta go through the rainforest, but every time y'all go digging somewhere, y'all find some new shit. So you telling me that you know everything about the world, that y'all don't want to go find deeper and deeper civilizations? That just proves a bigger point at hand.
Narrative that we have out here. It proves everything that we believe. Like I was watching a special about what you're talking about. It's not X-ray. It has something to do with subterranean. I forget what it's called. But I saw that, and they found a whole sprawling civilization under the Amazon rainforest, a whole city. Like it. Like for me, what I feel like our problem is in America right now is the fact that we always have to feel superior to our fellow man. When the people that are the real problem is the state. Like people ask, they say, does politics control our culture, or does culture control politics? And the fact that we even have to ask that question is the hugest problem in the world, because politics, like Marcus said earlier, should be kind of like the symptom It shouldn't be the disease.
Right.
It shouldn't be the
well,
disease.
in a way though, it is. In a way, it is the symptom. It's the symptom of the fucking retarded, lazy ass, let shit happen to you culture that we have allowed to come from us. You know, like we were talking about earlier today, or maybe that was me and Saul were talking earlier today about like the stuff that people complain about all the time is the stuff that people are going out there and buying it and watching it and all this stuff, like the bread and circuses and all these things. Like we, as de Tocqueville said, we get the democracy or whatever, the bastardization of that we deserve because we have like voted with our pocketbooks and voted with our conscience and voted with our attention, our eyeballs, and everything else for this stuff. So let me real quick before we continue this conversation and keep going deeper. This chat has been here for a solid 20 minutes. So to the victor go the spoils, and to us go $5 worth of spoils from thank you to the man Saul G for dropping some ducats on the over on the LibreTV.co chat. He says, shout out to my homies contributing to the Aquarian grift. I love it. He's been hounding me. He's like, did you see my chat? I was like, yes, I saw it. Marcus won't stop talking. Land the speed, Marcus. No, but I'm doing, yeah, I know, right? But seriously, so I wanted to pivot there to that chat for this specific reason. We have an opportunity. These guys are creating something now. Yeah, YouTube existed and all this other stuff, but they are creating another place, another ecosystem where we can actually kind of like own our own shit and not have it be run by another oligarchy that wants to take, what is it? I think YouTube takes like 30% or more or something like that. And then the ads, it's even worse than that. They have these steep requirements now to where like to get monetized, you have to be at a certain level or whatever. These guys are actually trying to help build something because they're seeing it the same way that you were talking about. This isn't about being better than anybody else or anything like that. This is just about providing something so that we can all grow together. And they're in it for the free speech and for the building of something, a community that wants to grow together. So shout out to them. I love it. And that's, again, it's another support it. It's a black owned business that is out there doing something that's better for the overall community. And the other thing that I like about it too is that Saul and I have talked about it, and he's really interested in making it to where it isn't just a platform that's all a bunch of shows like this one, or all a bunch of shows like yours, or all a bunch of shows like theirs. They want to have as many different types of programming as possible. I mean, I guess.
Look, as long as he said,
I'm not saying just saying,
and it's not
we
kids.
back with the stripper content.
We need it, man.
Jonesy is always, that's like his default. His default is always to go to
I'm disappointed Jonesy didn't have a stripper in his background.
No shit, right? But no, so similar to Marcus, I kind of grew up in that like NWA, Tupac, Ice-T, that era of like rap and hip hop when it was. And like even before that, like 2 Live Crew, Luke Skywalker, that kind of shit, where I was like the thing that was this is crazy, but like the thing that I liked the most about 2 Live Crew was when they made a whole song telling Tipper Gore to fuck off. It was like, and I was like, okay, yes, like I'm down with this because it was about free speech, and their whole thing was like, look, you don't have to buy this shit. You don't have to listen to it. Leave us and our customers the fuck alone. Like if they want to buy it and they want to listen to it, let them.
Censorship really started.
The funny thing about that, I really believe that was the biggest grift ever because
it made them more popular.
Yeah, like do you think all of these smart people up at these record labels didn't realize if you make something, kids love forbidden fruit.
Yeah, right.
So when you put
explicit
parental advisory, explicit. You put that on the first album that they ever had that on was the NWA Straight Outta Compton, right? The second one was 2 Live Crew, and I remember that. And I remember going to the record store. We dating ourselves, buying the fucking record. and just because it had that shit on it, and I'm from the Northeast, so to me, when I used to hear Luke and them, I thought they were whack.
Yeah,
but I just wanted the record because it had ass on the front, and also because it was controversial. So I bought it, bro. I'm like, and you figured when that came out, I might have been 10 or 11 years old.
So I'm gonna I might embarrass some of the ladies in the audience, but I just have to do this. Like one of my favorite songs on, I don't remember which album it was, but it was Dick Almighty. It was like jump up on it, grab it like you want it. If you could wear a dick, bitch, you would flaunt it.
Right.
And then they started wearing dicks, and they do flaunt it. You know, like it's
funny. Now I have to pivot all the way back to the beginning of the episode. Now you call me and Marcus gay, and your favorite song is
oh damn, it has to be backwards.
It's all good. The audience can get right. They're reflected the right way, Nico.
Look, I thought about it backwards, and I was like, wait, maybe I did.
God damn, man. All right, yeah, Jonesy, you were right. I should probably just leave it alone and not fuck with you because you're too quick on the trigger.
I got you, man.
God damn, man.
Oh, man.
Oh fuck. But
Damn,
yeah,
Chad getting stopped out on his own channel.
So where I was going with that was before all the 2 Live Crew shit. Was no, like I connected with that like fuck the police, you know, fuck you, Gore, all that kind of stuff, because I recognized that like I didn't have quite a way to identify it back then, because this is before I started voting or anything like that. I voted for Bill Clinton in 1992, voted for George Bush in 2004, didn't vote in 96 or 2000 or any of the midterms in between. And so like for me, it was still a process that I was going through where I was like grasping at straws for what the fuck is wrong and what's the solution for it. And it wasn't until I finally got to that point where I came across Ron Paul and a group of his supporters where it was like, okay, this shit lands. And then I started listening to that music again, and it was a completely different, like eye-opening experience, because it was like, okay, now like I don't just have an understanding of like fuck the police and that the mindset that comes with that, where like you're getting fucked over by something on a systemic level and nobody's really doing anything about it or even talking about it. Now I have not just that sentiment inside me that says like, why did you get to just speed by me at 75 miles an hour in a 45 without your sirens on or anything? But if I'm going 46 or something, you can pull me over and give me a ticket. You're just fucking going, I don't know where, to the donut shop or something, and you get to do whatever the fuck you want. That little bitty shit used to piss me off. And then I finally, like now, as I run into all this libertarian anarchist type stuff, I'm like, okay, wait. Now there's not just a problem and identification of a problem. Now I'm starting to run into people who actually have like a pathway to fixing this shit and making things better. And it's that sort of mentality that's made it to where like this connection, this mashup, where like me and Marcus, the 2 white dudes who kind of started this little show or whatever, are on here, and we're vibing with 2 brothers who like came to us from completely different ways of getting here. Like I met Nicco through the Hotep Nation chat. I met you Jonesy on the Mogul Summit, and like now we're working together and we're all speaking the same language. And I wonder what things would be like if we weren't able to create these types of connections with each other.
Because this is the future, bro. Like
I would actually be a real anarchist. I'd light shit on fire. Like I would have no outlet. I would have no outlet into being able to discuss certain topics with you guys.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Not guys.
Or are you going to ask that?
This right here, this right here is the future, man. Like what they've always been able to do is they've always been able to separate everybody really through economics. Right, because you know we could sit up here and we could talk about the plight of the black man, the plight of the white man, or whatever. But what we know is that what America was built on, right? We know America, the wealth power in America, and how America became to be what it is off the backs of chattel slavery, right? Mm-hmm. So if you're not able to participate in that race for the resources, and then you're able to get into it way later, and then it's like you get into it, then they pull it back, then now you got Jim Crow, and then now you're trying to overcome that. Then you have wars that are fought, and then you have the civil rights movement, and they took the civil rights movement and they corrupted it. The civil rights movement was really supposed to be for the edification and the advancement of Black people to be able to compete on a subsistence level with whites. But what they did with the civil rights movement was they corrupted it and they made it about integration into the white community. And they weakened it. And as soon as like, and that's the reason why it wasn't a secret to why they made Dr. King the face of the civil rights movement. They won't tell you about Kwame Ture. They won't tell you about all of the other
and, Stokely Carmichael.
They won't tell you about all of these people.
Yeah, no, they won't.
They weren't on that shit. You know what I'm saying? So Martin Luther King, and listen, no disrespect to Martin Luther King. And what they won't tell you is there were a lot of older Black folks that were from that era that didn't agree with Dr. King. My grandfather died. I said this on Corey's show. My grandfather was 97 when he died a few years ago. My grandfather was a Baptist minister. My grandfather didn't like Dr. King. They didn't like what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? Because what they felt was listen, my grandfather used to say this to me all the time. He says, son, it's cool to perform at Madison Square Garden, but what's wrong with performing at the Apollo? You know what I'm saying? What's wrong with staying in your community? You know what I mean? It's almost like, W.E.B. Du Bois versus Booker T. Washington, right? Those two ideologies. Yeah. So they pushed that to the forefront, and as soon as Martin Luther King started talking about socio and economic power, they killed him. The basis to how we can all get to a level where we can converse is through economics.
And that is.
So let me correct what I said earlier. Saul and them are not trying to build anything for economic power or anything like that. They're just throwing fucking baloney at the wall. They don't know what they're doing, and I'm trying to keep them alive. No.
You're definitely right, though, Jonesy.
I mean, started that shit. Put that fucking idea in my head about throwing baloney at the wall. That's how all that shit fucking started. Because that's what he was saying. But anyway, all right.
It's applied to Chad.
Yeah, but you're right, man. They're scared of their economics getting fucking attacked. That's why they're so goddamn scared of cryptocurrency, and they're not as afraid of Bitcoin at this point. Although, go buy some Bitcoin right now; it's down.
Yeah, I've been buying it all week.
Right,
but every time I think of buying some bullshit, I just buy some more Bitcoin.
Right. Because cryptocurrency, whether it's Bitcoin or something else, is going to be a step towards more economic freedom for sure, and they're going to come down on that. There's going to be some backlash. Be expecting it. But you're absolutely right. It's about economic freedom, and it's about building community. And community doesn't. One of the things that I started to say earlier is it doesn't have to be about black or white. It can be about whatever. Because I want to see. I connect with y'all because I connect with y'all. It doesn't fucking matter to me if you're pink, purple, or green. I don't give a fuck. Now, I might if you're green.
Don't connect with Van Jones.
Right, I'm not going to connect with
I don't connect with Andrew Cuomo or fucking Anderson Cooper or any of that kind of shit. See, I had to throw that one in there. So I don't connect with Anderson Cooper. Anyway.
But yeah, it is. You're right. It's about building community, and when they start seeing competition, because what was happening, and I'm by no means an expert when it comes to a lot of this shit, but I have studied Malcolm X to a degree, and when he started building his own community, and it started working, where they were going to have a competitive system. They have their own army. They have their own economic system. They start bringing all that shit together. Once that's when he became an enemy of the state, was when, oh shit, he stopped being controllable. He stopped being, this just guy spouting off hate. He's talking about building shit. Uh-oh. We got to stop.
He started off an enemy of the state, bro, because of who he was connected to and who taught him, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad is one of the first black men in this country to own his own airplane. Like he had his own everything. He's one of the most successful black men in American history, and they act like he never existed. And,
yeah, they do that. They like to snub us.
They like to slander, just like, you know, like Minister Farrakhan. You know, if you bring up Minister Farrakhan, it's like an epithet now, where you can talk about whoever you want. You can talk like like I don't have a problem with Donald Trump, but Donald Trump is a lightning rod too. But Shannon Sharp said this today, from what I understand. He said that it's crazy that Tom Brady can be friends with Donald Trump, but LeBron James couldn't be friends with Minister Farrakhan.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? And I'm not listening. I'm not like I know there are a lot of things. There's more context and nuance to that.
Right.
What I'm saying is that that's always been the fear, man. Even when we talk about, you know, Black Wall Street, right? And we're not gonna say like it just got blown up, because that's already, you know, it went on for another 20 or 30 years. But I think that economics is at the basis of all of this shit. Like right now, people don't realize that there's a way greater wealth gap between the 1% and normal people like us than any time in the history of this country. And right now, you know, they're using culture to influence our daily lives and society. And they're using that to kind of curate what we deem acceptable politically.
For sure.
It started with rap. I mean, not just with rap, but TV shows. I was on the way back home and I'm driving, and on a billboard, I see, I took a quick look and I see Batwoman. And then I'm like, hold on, wait. I look again, Batwoman is black. I ain't got no fucking problem with a superhero being black. But after everything that's gone on with black people, now y'all want to start pandering to us so that we can be the superheroes, or that our music influences the culture. And it's like, why do y'all sit here and be, we got Aunt Jemima off a bottle, we got a black Wonder Woman in off, like no.
Symbolism.
It's the symbolism
over substance. Yeah, exactly.
Like putting what the fuck do I care whether Harriet Tubman is on a $20 bill or not?
I'm saying put Meek Mill on a $20 bill.
They should have put Meek Mill on a $20 bill. That's what he gave the young bulls.
I know, and they did put Virgil on the 50 too. While they're at it.
Yeah,
on the fucking 50.
They've been fucking with shit with money forever, though. There is no goddamn reason why Thomas Jefferson should be on the $2 bill. They did that shit to make a joke. Notice and pointed out, the fucking central bank has been taken down twice by two people. The two biggest people that opposed the fucking central banks were Thomas Jefferson and Andrew Jackson. Yeah. The $2 bill and the $20 bill. So now they're going to put a black woman on the $20 bill. What symbolism is that? What does that tell you about it? If they're making fun of the $2 bill and the $20 bill, what are they doing with the $20 bill?
Mark is dropping bombs in here, man.
Deep.
Funny little facts. Funny little facts.
That's right. Damn,
Mark, what they like to
pay
do.
Attention.
Shit, I don't know if I'm smart enough
Quick
to
little
come
fact about the central banking.
Go ahead, Nico.
So we've all seen the Titanic, and it's been a tragedy. Oh, Jack and Rose. Does anybody know what's the true significant event of the Titanic crashing? And the true significance is that all the people who opposed central banking on that bitch all died. Every single person that
what I understand really substantiate that though, because a lot of times, man, I don't like meme history.
I like to say allegedly.
I'm not saying that that's what
allegedly. My bad.
I like to say allegedly a lot when we talk about this kind of stuff.
But here's the thing, though. It's like
actually happened. We're just saying that, like
Hollywood likes to blatantly put shit in front of your face.
Yeah, well, that's what Hollywood is. Hollywood is an engine to curate what goes on in society. And you notice, you have all of these dystopian movies, right? Like The Hunger Games and Minority Report. I mean, even going back way in the 60s and the 70s or the 80s and 90s with RoboCop, there hasn't been one thing that we've seen in a movie, right, that hasn't come true on some level. It's not one thing, because what it is conditioning. You need to condition humanity. Humanity is not I don't think we're as sophisticated as we think. I really don't. And I've come to find that out, like with the political system. Like, people try to act like, oh, I'm so deep and I care about all these different things. And people really only care about one fucking issue. Yeah. Most people vote on whatever side of the aisle because it's of, oh, you know what? They're going to fuck with my guns. They're going to fuck with my money. I'm homosexual. I want to get married. So I'm going to vote on this side. And there's nothing wrong with that. But the people don't vote. I'm voting with my wallet. People aren't as nuanced and as sophisticated as you think. You have some people who won't vote for a woman. You have some people that won't vote for a black person. It doesn't matter if the person came down with a clear and concise plan to stop all of the bullshit. They had a cure for cancer. They had a cure for AIDS. They wouldn't give a fuck. They wouldn't vote for them. So I really believe that what Hollywood has tapped into is the primitive nature of humans.
Yeah, I think you're right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're right about that.
Uh-oh.
Jonesy, come back.
Come back, Jonesy.
Jonesy, come back.
I dropped a gem.
Well,
we'll wait for him to come back in. He may have to drop all the way out and come back in.
Yeah, he may have to. Shit.
So at the end of to just kind of caveat and bullshit until he comes back, I think that he is absolutely onto something. And I also think that there's something to do with the powers that be that feel like that they have to tell us what the fuck they're about to do. I don't know if it's like, I've heard this is some kind of satanic ritual and I don't know about all that.
Allegedly. But there's some of that, but there's also predictive programming. I mean, predictive programming is pretty strong, pretty powerful. Like, if you want people to slowly accept something, you just trickle it into their literature, music, media, those sorts of things, and then it becomes more palatable. So that then, because they did a lot of this stuff with like the stuff that's going on now, like they had the movie Contagion, like what was that, 2017 or something like that, or something like that. Like
they popped that straight out as soon as Corona hit.
Right, they keep coming back with these these little suggestions of like, hey, get ready, this might be coming soon. And then boom, it comes. And so then people are like, yeah, I kind of remember, this is what people were talking about with that, or like Bird Box, or all these different things. It's like all this different predictive type stuff. I texted him, he's not responding. So hopefully his
you know what's funny about that? There was recently a game that came out called Among Us.
Among Us is
it's a little game where it's like Wolf or So if you don't know, it's like the game of Wolf, or it's like the game of Mafia, where
sorry to redact, they got me, yo.
It's a tiny little game where you're on a spaceship and you're with the crew, and there's two murderers on this crew, so you have to go do these little tasks around the ship. And then the two murderers start chopping people and killing people. And there's an intermission. The intermission is, all right, let's figure out who's the murderer. So then you got to type in, oh, it wasn't me. Oh, it wasn't me. So therefore, you start to integrate the idea of not trusting nobody, especially a dangerous time like this where shit could really hit the fan and you might need to really hit up your neighbor. Wait, I played Among Us too many times. How I'm not going to know you're going to kill me? So it's like, it's real.
No, it teaches distrust and snitching. Distrust.
I had to tell my daughters to stop playing that shit.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah. It psychologically puts it in your subconscious to not trust nobody. And the part is you need to trust the people who are next door to you. To be honest, that's the community. I was telling my little brothers I was getting on their asses because they were doing poor in school, but I can't even get mad at them at that. They're sitting down at a computer and they're staring at this bitch for 8 hours a day. And it's not like, adults don't do it, but it's different for adults because they're able to move around, talk in the office and that nature. When you're a kid stuck at home staring at a computer and you don't probably got the best internet, or, you have ADD and you can't sit down at school. there was things for you to interact with. When you're at home, there's a lot more distractions. When you're at home, there's a lot more things to basically take you away from it if you aren't that type of person. Where was I going with this?
Yeah,
but go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, I'm going to cut in, but you're right, man. Like I'm like what I've come to realize with my children being homeschooled is that, you know, education, when I think about all the things that I learned in school, all of the jewels, all of the people, it really wasn't what I was taught in school that affected me as an adult. It's all the social things. It's all of the friendships I made. It's all of the teachers and all of the lessons I learned from that. So there, you know, it's about educating a whole child, and they're not getting that. You know, like it's getting to the point like when my youngest daughter, my youngest daughter found this app called Bueller. Right. So what it does is it puts you on a loop.
Bueller.
It puts you on a loop like
Hey,
Bueller.
the finesse,
So she had a picture of herself on loop like this, like blinking, making it look like she was in class and she wasn't in class.
Hey, yeah, that's crap at its best.
Yeah, for sure, she's smart. But yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right about the fact that yeah, the stuff that I learned in school. Sure, I did okay in school, and but for me, my education really started after school, and I learned more. You're right. I learned more from my buddies about, how to live my life, because, education is supposed to be about funding your life with information. It's not supposed to be your life. You're not supposed to be doing math problems all the fucking time. You're supposed to fund your life. And part of that involves, going to recess, hanging out with your friends, learning that Janie down the way thinks you're cute, those kinds of things. That's what it's about. It's about doing that. For sure.
Oh, I remember my thing. So this all leads to a fucked up society. The society comes to a community, to a family, to the individual. You get that individual who has been all cooped up, and it's about to be nasty with this next generation, man. Mm-hmm. I am working with my brothers to find out, hey, what are you doing? Okay, here, take a passion and figure it out. I need y'all to get into fields of realms of how you passionately feel, because school doesn't teach you about yourself. You got to learn that on the outside. And, it goes all the way through college. People don't find out themselves until later on. And, then motherfuckers have midlife crisis. What the hell am I doing here? Well, Bob, you didn't figure your life out. So therefore, you're going to have to figure out what you like, what doesn't fit with you. So I'm telling my little brothers, I need y'all to be productive in a society that's going to be fucked up. I need y'all to be able to understand that you as the individual from your family and your traditions of the family can help boost that community, to help boost that society. That's just something that's inevitable, but it really takes the dedication and time, and discipline isn't going to be learned as a child. Mom and dad got to go to work. Not everybody got the luxury of mom being at home. My siblings are in a fucking motel right now, and their mom, I can't speak on if she's there or not all the time, but I'm hearing about my little brother's missing class. I'm hearing about, them not really paying attention and focusing. I know how they act. So they needed that discipline, that physical element enterprised in their life, because life is developed through those personal experiences. Just like how Marcus said, Janie down the road liked you. It's a different feeling when a girl just, texts you, oh, I like you. Nah, when you find out and then, damn, Janie down the road liked me, and you walk past our house, you get that, that real emotion, that real feeling. They're taking that shit away from them, man.
Yeah, man. And social interaction has been stomped out. Like I feel like a lot of young people gravitate towards people in our age group because we learned the nuance in life. Mm-hmm. We learned how to solve problems because, like I said earlier, we are the last generation who went outside to play. Mm-hmm. We were the kids who were out all day. Your parents didn't know what you were doing. You could have been getting your ass kicked. You could have been getting some ass. You could be doing drugs. You could be doing anything. But no one knew what the fuck happened until you came in the house, right? So we had to learn how to navigate the world at a very, very young age, where it's a little bit different now. Like the kids now, they go from, like I noticed, like with my children, they're millennials. You know what I mean? So it's like their whole time growing up, you take them to their friends' houses for play dates. Like I'm at all their practices, and you know, my wife and I, we're intimately involved in every portion of their life. And it's like they almost don't get a chance to become an individual. Where you know, like my parents, I was on my own when I was 15 years old, pretty much.
Dude,
you know
I was riding my bike to baseball practice at 13, and like I came home and like nobody brought me to practice or anything like that. Like, you did all that shit yourself. Like they didn't bring you, let alone stay and watch practice.
My father came to one football game. My father came to one of my football games and one of my brother's football games when he was the year he died. And I think I had 4.5 sacks. I went crazy because my dad was watching me. You know what I mean? My father was always gone. He was all, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to get into my personal life, like with my pops and shit, but my pops wasn't really around. Like, he was there, he raised me, but he was working, he was grinding. Like, you know what I mean? That's how it was, because when we were growing up, your parents fucking they had to scrape and scrap, they had to get everything they could out of their job. It wasn't like how it is now, where people, like, you know, you have all these passive streams of income. People are like kind of more, I think a lot of times, man, people nowadays have learned how to play the stock. The stock market was like a mysterious thing in the 70s and the 80s to certain people.
Well, you couldn't do what you can do now. Like back then,
my little brother's on that. My little brother's on Cash App.
Trade. There wasn't no TD Ameritrade where you fucking signed up for an account and like watched the stuff on. Like you saw the next morning in the paper what the fucking stock market did. And you might have heard a few little headlines or whatever on the news, on the nightly news or whatever, but it wasn't this thing where they had 24-hour news and you could watch CNBC and watch the stock ticker and also be on your E-Trade, TD Ameritrade, whatever Robinhood account and be, you know, sitting in there making trades all day. That's allowed for that independent sort of, because it used to be you had to go to a broker, you had to go to your
AG, and you had to have enough money to make it worth the broker's while.
Exactly. You had to like throw down at least 2 G's or something like that just to get started on like some bullshit account where they were like, yeah, that's cool, you owe us $200 every year. And I'm like, wait, that's like 10% of my portfolio. And they're like, yeah, it's not my fucking problem. This is what's worth it to me. And so I was, you know, and I did that when I was like, I don't know.
Quick question, Jonesy. You know how, and I'm not coming from like at Marcus or in Chad's head. I don't know how your parents were with financial things, but how did your parents handle financial, like telling you anything financial, or was it all groomed off of your experiences and you had to be like, this is what this is? Because all of my information didn't come from my pops, and it didn't come from, you know, it came from my homie's pops.
With my mother's not great with money. You know what I mean? Well, my father was, you know, my dad was a street dude. You know what I'm saying? He worked and everything. My dad was a real brilliant guy. So, you know, my father owned businesses. You know, my father set my mother up when he passed away. And my dad explained to me about money. My grandfather was one of the first black men in Newark to own any businesses. He had a cowhide business. He had a bar. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, he owned properties. So they sprinkled that game on me when I was a kid. But everybody else, and then a lot of the people that I grew up around, like my best friend's father is very, very financially savvy and stuff. And I was the kind of kid that I got the best lesson I ever got in my life. I was telling Corey this last night, man. My pops told me one time when I was hanging out with him and his buddies, they were having a conversation about boxing. We at the gym, whatever. And I want to put my little cut on in this shit, talk about the new school boxers. They talking about Jersey Joe Walcott and Joe Louis and all of that era. And I want to come in and jump in and say something. And as soon as I said something, my father said, hey, son, hey, you ain't got nothing to say. You ain't qualified to speak. You know what I'm saying? And he said, listen, he said, son, it's the reason why God gave you 2 ears, 2 eyes, and 1 mouth. He said, listen and watch more than you talk. Don't say nothing. And that's the best advice my dad ever gave me when I was a kid, because when I was around the old heads, I sat and I soaked it up. I soaked up what to do and I soaked up what not to do. And a lot of the things that I learned are from people that I work with too at my job. You know, a lot of them older guys, you know, are very, very well to do and they do their thing. And when I came in and I was making money and I didn't know what to do with it, I want to go buy cars and, you know, what I'm saying. I want to do the Negroidian thing. You know what I mean? Throwing the chains and
Look, man,
wow and do some bullshit. And I had an old head come and sit me down. He's like, listen, this is how you set your 401k up. This is how you set up your IRA. This is, bring your lunch every day. He said, I want you to bring your lunch every day for a week and look at your bank account. He says, and then after that week, do it a second week, do it a third week, do it a month, and compare it and juxtapose it against what you had last month. And bro, I noticed I was spending $300 a month on lunch.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Just shit like that. It's me.
I need to work on that.
It's all about being receptive to the information. We all get the information, bro. It's just being receptive to it. And not thinking that you know everything. Like a lot of young cats and a lot of people, I don't know what it is. What I don't want to just make this germane to our community, but I know with a lot of brothers that were older than me when I was coming up, they had a problem with an old head coming and saying something to them. They would never listen. The old head will be trying to tell them something, and they're quiet, but they just want to get their shit off. They don't really, they're not really listening.
It's the loss of the fathers. It's the loss of the fathers and telling you, that's a big problem with the younger generation. Granted, we all rebellious and we have our phases. It's the lack of the fathers and telling you this is what you do when grown men are talking. This is what you do. This is how you pay attention. And so with the lack of that, that masculine and that form of discipline, the lack of that really is a big detriment. Why you think kids out in Chicago don't care if they hit a kid? You feel me?
Yeah, because that's that shit. They don't have no old heads to curate what the rules are. You know what I mean? Like everything, like look, man, there are rules to any game you play, whether it's legal or illegal. You know what I'm saying? But this is the thing they don't realize. See, a lot of these guys, they do shit, and then when they go down for it, then they get taught the real rules. You know what I'm saying? There are always rules to whatever game you play. I think that the narrative that the black father, there was definitely a lack of black fathers because of the war on crime and the war on crack and everything like that. And it's a lot, a lot of brothers,
the wars too,
and the wars too,
and they're sending guys over to get killed. Yeah,
like my uncle, I had an uncle that died in Vietnam, and his son grew up without him. And then my father was in the can when I was a kid for a couple of years, and you know what I'm saying. So I get it, you know what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is now, I don't think that's as much of the case. I think that's a really poor narrative because if you look at it numbers wise, black men right now are more involved in their kids' life than any other race per capita. Right now, bro. Black men, black fathers, we're doing it on a level that other people don't. I don't know a brother in my life personally that I actually know that doesn't take care of their kids, who don't always have their kids with them. Like with me, anytime you see me since my daughters have been born, I don't give a fuck where I am. My daughters are normally right behind me. If I'm not at work, my kids are around me or with me.
I've experienced that too with coaching my boys' basketball teams and stuff like that. Because the most of the stuff that I do when I'm coaching, it's in this league it's downtown, and it's like my kid's like the one white kid in the league, And so like when I'm coaching like it's 9 black kids and my kid, and like their parents. Like it's both parents or it's the dad that I'm like communicating with and who's coming to the games and all that kind of stuff. The ones who are offering to help, whenever I have to miss a practice or something like that. So I definitely I'm seeing that same thing, play out like in real time in front of me. So I wanted to bring us back to like we were talking about this culture and politics. With chicken versus egg sort of conversation.
Oh yeah.
And then we kind of moved into like Hollywood and art and that sort of stuff too. Like the way I've kind of pictured this is I think most of the time all of the stuff, everything is like downstream of culture. Even the art is downstream of culture. It's typically been reflecting back on us where we already are. But what I've noticed is that as that started to become recognized, and it's possible that this was going on for centuries and I just didn't pick up on it because I wasn't around. But it seems like as when I was a kid, I remember being like kind of blown away by how much like divorce and split up families and stuff like that. And then how much of this stuff, and you see this a lot in Disney stuff where they have like the dad is an idiot.
Yep.
The mom saves the day all the time. Somehow they live in some lush condominium or house or somewhere or something like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air type style shit, you know. So somehow
the dad's an idiot.
The dad's a dumbass, but he can afford all this stuff, and they do whatever they do. And there's always this weird sort of like dynamic where it's almost like they're trying to direct, like they figured out, hey, what's been happening is culture has been reflected in art. So what if we start to turn that mirror in a slightly different direction and make them see something that will start to push? And I've noticed this a lot with how they portray black men. The black dude's always either gay or he's an idiot, he's a thug, he's a shyster, or like he's trying to do some slick stuff behind somebody's back or something like that. It's almost never Cliff Huxtable and Uncle Phil anymore.
Whatever happened to Jim Brown, right? Whatever happened to Fred the Hammer Williamson. You know what I'm saying? Whatever happened to that, man? Like in the 70s, we were kind of the litmus point for masculinity and being cool and being tough. You know what I mean? And then all in about 30 years, now we're the litmus point. We're the butt of the joke now. We're not making a joke anymore. We're the and that's by design. But you know what the thing is, man? There are a lot of brothers that are out there that are getting money where they have to make a decision. What's more important? Is it more important for you to get the bag, or is it more important for what you leave behind? Right. Because all of this money is cool, right? But the thing that's going to live on forever, the images when you're in the public's mind space that you put out there. So the fact that like a man like Dave Chappelle refused to wear a dress is huge to me.
Yeah.
Because you had every prominent black comedian besides Dave and Bill Cosby has at one time or another worn a dress. And Red Fox, that's way back. But Richard Pryor has worn a dress, right? Martin Lawrence with Shanae has worn a dress. Chris Rock played his own sister on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Eddie Murphy.
All right, who said Martin?
Eddie Murphy, Martin, like everybody, like
did White Chicks and all that stuff, and
then the Wayans brothers, they always do that shit. And I'm not gonna get into like Bernie. We ain't gonna get into like Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac didn't do it, but Bernie never got big enough to be in the public's mind. Like he was big in our community. He was big in our community, but he wasn't like the superstar. Like Kevin Hart even did it. He did it on Saturday Night Live.
I don't think Bernie would do it though. The character he was, like the old school, and you watched on his shows. Like, man, if you don't like Bernie Mac's show, you got to get out of my face. You watched it on his shows about how structured and how he was, as you know.
I couldn't see Bernie do it. I ain't wearing no motherfucking dress.
Exactly.
Big fella, you can't make me wear a dress and face, motherfucker.
It's not just the black culture either, man. They're snipping white boys' balls off too, man. Where it is they have, we touched on it earlier. You were talking about you learn from the old guys in the barbershop and what have you, dude. It used to be culturally, no matter what culture you're talking about, you look to the old people. The old people's that was the wise people. Now they're the crazy ass people. They tell you all these people are senile, or they're boomers, or they're something like that. Man, that's where we get our shit. These people have been through it.
Yeah, now if you go to the barbershop, the kid's got an iPad or a phone or something like that, and what does he do? He's watching Disney. So it's like instead of sitting back and listening, because like I remember being a kid, and if your parents took you somewhere, you shut the fuck up and you went and you sat there for 4 hours while your mom shopped at the fucking department store for the cheap rack of clothes or whatever, and you kind of hid in the hours and did hours on end. Now the kids, it's like I don't have to listen to them. I'll put headphones on and I'll just play this thing on. So they're missing that whole element of the cultural shaping of their future, and instead it's being replaced with this and with that's
their new parents. To be honest, that's their new parents. It's like if you don't regulate kids on this, man, they can go do some bunny holes and rabbit holes. Like my little sister sits and watch these weird ass like shows on YouTube, and I'm like, I would love to alter what she watches, but how am I going to be there 24/7 to monitor what she watch? So therefore,
You're a brother too,
just
so
Yeah.
you know, not to interrupt you, but you're her brother, and
Well,
it's like
no.
it's hard for you to tell your children. Like I was like the one in my family, even though I got older sisters who looked after everybody, and it's hard to be a brother and try to like dictate policy when you're not the parent. It's hard, man.
Right.
It's real hard. You can influence your younger siblings, but it's only but so much you can do.
Look,
Yeah,
I'm not
it's
gonna
different
lie.
different being a parent for sure. And you know, sometimes I feel sorry for. I've got 4 kids, but my youngest is dealing with all this bullshit, and I feel sorry for her sometimes.
I see you, Corey.
Because she sometimes, you know, she's got me and her mom as parents, and we're weird as fuck compared to most of these people. We're weird, you know. So I feel sorry for her sometimes because she's trying to live the life of what everybody else is doing, but yet I'm like you, Jonesy. I'm in her life. I'm trying to do the shit that I can to help her, but I'm also not one of these people that are hovering over. You know, we do tell her and my grandchild Skylar. We tell them get the fuck outside.
Yeah, man.
Play. You know.
Yeah,
So,
I do that too, man. Like especially during this whole virtual learning thing, when I'm at work, I make sure because you know my wife is an educator, so they're all here, and it's like one is in the office, the other one is in the den, the other one is in the dining room or the kitchen or whatever. And what we've been trying to do is I try to make it as structured as possible, as close to school as possible. So lunchtime, you eat lunch for half an hour. No, you're not going to be eating with your camera turned off. Turn your camera on, get up, take a shower, brush your teeth, put clothes on like you're going to school, because I don't want to break that. Because these kids are being institutionalized now. When they go back to school, they're not going to be able to focus. So when it's school time, it's school time. And when you guys get up, you can't do anything else but school. And then when it's gym time or when it's your little break, I want you to go outside, or like in my house, I kind of built like a gym. Go down and run on the damn treadmill. Go get on the elliptical machine. Like go skip rope. Do something. But you're not gonna play that game. You're not gonna be on your iPad, and you're not gonna lay around here like you don't have a purpose. Because I don't want to. Like right now, I have a teenager and I have a kid that's a tween, and it's like I don't want to curate this culture of laziness and despair and depression and this isolationism that they're doing. They're setting the stage for communism.
Oh, for sure.
They're setting the stage for this shit. Like they're trying to institute the $15 minimum wage. They're trying to institute. I'm sorry, but they're trying to institute
Don
all
King
of these things where they're at home. They're trying to institute all of these situations where we're not together, because we're stronger together. We're stronger together, and everyone knows that. The way that you break a society is to split the society up.
And I don't know. I don't want to like go off into like the whole thing about like what this thing is or anything like that. But I will say this: there have been several people who have said this back, all back in the day and up to like recent history. Never let a good crisis go to waste, and that's what a lot of these companies, governments are doing, and they're consolidating power and resources, but they're also restructuring society. That's the thing. Like what you were talking about, like there are people who are like they're companies that are loving the fact that now they don't have to have a brick and mortar building anymore to have people come. People can work from home. Now people are and then now they're also figuring out, well, we don't need all these people anymore. We can just like let some of these people, their whole job was to help manage this brick and mortar place. So like we don't need them anymore if the people aren't coming to the brick. So it's doing this thing where what it has done is, I think some of that stuff was eventually going to come anyway, as a lot of this stuff started to get Automated, yes. That's I was doing like you. I was about to say automized. Like that ain't the word. Fuck yeah, so a lot of
You gotta be
stuff,
like the mind's a beautiful thing to waste, guy. David Wayne for the living color.
right. Or like Orlando Jones on Office Space, where he comes in, and he's like selling, he's looking up in the sky. He's like, I was a crackhead, and now I'm selling these magazines. And he's like, look, I sell more of these magazines than I ever did working for Inatrode or whatever the fuck company he was working for. But anyway, he's like, I just need you to buy all these damn magazines so I cannot tell everybody what y'all are planning. But no, so as this stuff was starting to become automated, and we were starting to see, like through technology and everything else, that in a lot of cases humans were being replaced.
Yep.
You go to some of these grocery stores like that, you're checking out your own groceries. Like you're not even getting paid to bag your own groceries and ring your own groceries up. You're just doing it because the line's not as long and shit like that. And so that stuff was kind of coming, but what they've done is
I want my money.
Yeah, I know, right? They have greatly accelerated that whole timeline of, getting things to where, like, now the Amazon drone is going to come. There's going to be a robot walking up and dropping your shit off. All these people that are driving the Amazon trucks, they're like, yeah, man, I got this gig. I'm driving this Amazon truck. Not for long. As soon as the self-driving car is able to do that, and that little robot dog is able to go and put that package on your front door and look at it and take a snapshot like they're doing when they put it on your front porch. As soon as all that shit happens, that shit's going away anyway. So they've accelerated a lot of this stuff. Yep. And what you're saying actually is I think more terrifying than that, because what they're doing now is they're taking kids and they're programming them to be ready to accept that. Mm-hmm. And they've already smashed the creativity out of kids from kindergarten through 12th grade. By the time you get to 12th grade, if you're an inventor or a creative, a true creative who's not just biting off of some shit that's already been done 100 times over throughout history, you are a fucking rare diamond in the rough. Go ahead.
No. I'm saying that's what I do. I just bite off of shit that has already been created. Listen, I am a shameless self-promoter and unapologetic grifter.
For sure. So I want to back up real quick, because there's a perfect, for what Chad was talking about, there's a perfect quote that I got to bring up. This is F.A. Hayek. He said, emergencies have always been the pretext on which the safeguards of individual liberty have eroded. And that has never been more true than it is today. And the bottom line is, how do we, Jonesy, what do you think? How do we fight this? How do we instill creativity and free thought into the next generation?
Well, one, it's about something you said earlier. We need to create communities as opposed to neighborhoods. Communities sustain the people. They're made up by the people. You know what I mean? And if you have a community, you'll have kids who have a sense of self, a sense of an identity. They'll have a sense of where they're from. And these are the things that bring about creativity. You know what I mean? Also, what we need to definitely do is instill love in our children. It's hard to be creative or to be thought-provoking or to be innovative if you don't love it.
Yeah.
You kids are not developing love for things anymore because we remove all the obstacles for them to learn and to strive. I saw myself doing this with my kids, and I don't do it anymore. We a lot of times we solve all of our children's problems for them. So we don't give them that intrinsic intestinal fortitude to say, you know what, man, I don't know how to play the piano, but I'm going to learn how to play this piano because I want to learn how to play it. What we do is we give them an app that plays the song for them. And what we definitely need to do is instill love in our kids. And also the main thing is we need to actually teach every race, every kid, the history of this world, and let them know that if you do not know your history, you are definitely doomed to repeat it. This is nothing new. This is nothing new, man. Like, we can go back into like the Helligan dialect, right? Like, that's really what's being instituted now. It's like almost like that versus Marxism right now. Like, they're fighting for these two different dialects. You got the oligarchy, You know what I'm saying? You have the terror event that's going on right now. You have the antithesis, the increase in police and surveillance, right? And then you got the synthesis, the removal of freedom.
Yeah.
It's
You're
happening
right.
right in front of our eyes, right? So what we need to do is we need to unplug from all of this digital shit. We need to reach out and touch our kids and love our kids and spend time with them and talk to them and teach them for real. And if we can do that, if I do that in my corner of the world, I teach my nieces and nephews, I teach, the kids that are around them, they rub off on their friends. You do that, and we keep linking up with like-minded individuals and make a community. We can beat this shit, man. We really can. They don't have as much power as we think, man. We give them all the power. We're the one who give them our emails. We're the one who sign on their social platforms. We're on their platform right now, right? And Saul and Corey doing what they're doing is breaking away from that shit. We're giving them. We go buy a Ring doorbell. We go buy the Echo B. We go buy all of these thermostats, these learning thermostats that know when you're home and when you're not. There are a very, very small number of people that when we talk about the supposed redacted and who's controlling everything, I guarantee you that all the people who kind of run the world, you can get a fucking in a hotel room, you can get a banquet hall and fill that banquet hall up and still have room left over with the people who really control the narrative of this world.
Absolutely.
So I believe if we unplug from all of this shit and we teach our kids and we get back to the old school ways of doing things, we'll be fine, man.
Yeah. So what you were saying about loving something and like doing what it's hard for you to be creative and to really feel inspired and everything if you don't love what you're doing and if you're not feeling that. Like I just wanted to bring this. This is something I tweeted like 2 years ago. It was in March of 2019. This is Howard Thurman. He says, "Don't ask yourself what the world needs. Ask yourself what makes you come alive, and go do that, because that's what the world needs is people who have come alive." And that always has just really like stuck out to me ever since I read that for the first time, because that's what we're missing in large part. I think is too many people are going through these motions, feeling their way through the school system, then the college system, then
what a scam that is, right?
Right. And then getting that first job. And it's all just conditioning you for how to work for the man and how to do what the man wants and how to just give away your better years to that. And then hopefully if you're lucky, you'll retire just in time to, like, I don't know, grow old and die sitting down somewhere because you're exhausted from all the shit that you've been doing and you're not alive anymore. And there are people who do well, they do okay, and they're still vibrant, in their elderly years. But for a lot of people, I know people who have, like, when they stop working, they die within like a year because they don't know their life without it.
Let me tell you something. I know a lot of guys that, that I've worked with over the years, guys that have fucking died that should have been gone years. They stay there for 40 something years and die coming in to work overtime. Don't even collect one red cent of their pension. And that's not what life is about, man. We got a whole bunch of kids who are getting in debt, getting master's degrees, and they're not masters of shit. You got people who go to school and get business degrees and don't own a goddamn business.
Right.
So what would you do in a position of your kids possibly going to college or wanting to go to college? What's your rhetoric on college for your kids?
What I tell my children, because you got two different narratives in my household. My wife is an educator with a master's degree. My wife is in a sorority, and you know what I'm saying? And me, I'm a guy who went to school after I got into the work world just because. But I don't have any debt from that because it got paid for or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But the thing that I would tell my children is that don't go to school unless it's a passion, because passion is what's going to drive you through those tough times, and passion is what's going to drive you to the times when you're like, man, this is hard. I don't know what I'm going to do. That passion for what you're trying to do is going to, like, my oldest daughter wants to be a doctor. She's very proud. Like her idol is my sister-in-law. And my sister-in-law is a nurse, and she wants to take it to the next level. And she's always said that's what she wants to be, as a doctor, ever since she was a little kid. you know, and that's the reason why I'll see my daughter in here working and struggling on her schoolwork till 10, 11 o'clock at night, where I got to come and sit down with her. And I'm like, listen, how can I help? Because she has that hunger inside of her. My other daughter is my other daughter is even, you know, I don't want to say she's smarter because that's not fair, but my other daughter is like super smart, really, really smart. She is, like, you know, but the thing is, she's really creative. And I'm not, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at where their strengths lie and I'm going to support them. You know what I mean? And that's the way I feel about it. Wherever your passions lie and wherever, you know, you need that support, I'm going to be there to give it to you. I'm not going to just step on it. If she tells me she wants to do something creative, I'm not going to step on it. The one thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to pay for a degree that is, like, I'm not going to pay for a basket even degree.
Right.
Like, I'm just not going to do that. Like, if you're going to actually put money out into the world to get educated, there has to be a sum total to all of this shit. Yeah. You got some people who are educated derelicts, and I don't want an educated derelict living in my house. 30 years.
I want to go to that tweet or that comment you had up on the screen, Chad, about learning a trade. I absolutely, I absolutely agree with that. The problem, and sorry, this is the anarch in me coming out. Absolutely learn a trade. That is a great idea. We need to bring back the idea of training with a trade and not go into some stupid school spending $1 billion doing that because the government has required that you have to have some bullshit degree. I have a degree in funeral service. Do you know what I learned in school that was useful for that? Not a motherfucking thing. Not a motherfucking thing. I went.
You learn everything on the job.
Right. I went for 3 damn years to learn nothing that I could use. And I got a year internship that could teach me what I needed to learn to be a funeral director. And that's what you need, is you need to on-the-job training. Most of these fucking jobs that they're making us go to college now, don't, you know, for instance, let's say a radio announcer. Are you going to learn something in college better than when you are on a mic talking to somebody? Fuck no, you're going to learn on a mic. Going to school's not going to help you, but it sure doesn't pay for an English teacher or a speech teacher. Nothing against English teachers or speech teachers. They have a place. But why would I need an English teacher or a speech teacher? I had to take, for my degree, I had to take 2 semesters of English comp so that I could write obituaries. What the fuck did I need to be able to write term papers for to do that?
Well, I think higher education is going to be the next thing that gets reformed by the government, because you know, this is the biggest scam going. Right?
Yeah, well, but is it going to get reformed by government, or is it going to get reformed by us, the people who are just like, why would I go spend all that money when I can watch this shit on YouTube?
It's going to get reformed because the bottom is falling out of the student loan industry. So they have to find a way to
rescue that money back.
They got to find a way to get that money back. And they also have to, what they have to do is they have to step in and say, okay, listen, when I went to college, you know, you slept in a little shit dorm. Now you go to a college campus and they're in a fucking 5-star suite.
Oh, no shit. Bro,
you need that, right?
God, my dorm, when I went to college, there was no air conditioning. I'm in Louisiana, like South Louisiana, like right by the dam of Mexico. It's fucking hot as shit. I remember I was sleeping. The other thing is the beds, the mattresses are like covered in like this plastic stuff or whatever, so that like they don't ever have to, I guess they just hose them down in between. They don't ever have to like replace the mattresses. These mattresses had to be from like it used to be the dorm that I lived in was an old army barracks from way back in the Civil War or some shit. And they're still using these old mattresses and stuff like that. I swear it was from back then.
And see, I didn't go to college like you
and all this kind of shit.
I didn't go to college like you. I used to hang out with my boys, you know, my ex-teammates, whatever, that went to college. I'll go down to school, kick it with them, go to homecoming, you know, fuck with the girls, you know, that kind of thing. But I didn't have the dorm life like you. I got you know, educated because, you know, I'm a tradesman, you know what I mean? So I went to school and, you know, I learned to trade. And a lot of my buddies who went to college, they're not doing half as well as I'm doing.
Mhm.
But the thing is that, to be a tradesman, a lot of times you got to kind of have the aptitude to do that. Everybody has a different aptitude. There's some people who can't put two wrenches together, but they can, break down the Pythagorean theorem, right? Or, but then you have other people who can't get through a whole book. I have a friend of mine who went through Votech. He barely graduated high school. He went to a trade school. He learned how to fix cars, and now he's a millionaire. So it's like, I think the American education system at large is going to have to see that you can't fit a square peg in a round hole. And this whole college preparatory educational one size fits all education is not working. But as far as like school goes, like we were saying, they're going to have to reform it. Like, it shouldn't cost you, $250,000 to educate a kid to make fucking 38 grand.
Right. If that shit, they're probably waiting tables. A lot of them. You know how many people like go to Hollywood, go like try to live out there. They got this arts degree or whatever from Juilliard or some shit. They go out there and they're fucking waiting tables, waiting to get.
One of my boys, his son went to NYU, 4-year degree at NYU and drama and all this shit. Paid all this money, and his son is waiting tables in Los Angeles right now. You know what I mean? So, he's living, and his son is almost 30 years old, living with roommates and shit like that. So, it's, dude, I really believe that there's a reckoning coming when it comes to the educational system. Like, that whole scam, that grift is a wrap. Everybody can see that you don't need all of this shit.
The thing is, though, the government is not going to give that up. I see it every day. I cannot talk about how I see it, but I see it every day, every single day. And they're not going to give it up because I see with my eyes, because I work in a different field than I went to college.
We can't talk about where Marcus works, but
now we don't want to talk about work.
Definitely not related.
But I'm telling you, they have enslaved a nation with student aid. It is absolutely horrendous. You go in, you get $50,000 worth of student loans, and you pay $50,000 back, and you owe $50,000 in student loans. So they're not going to give that shit up, because it's not about the government isn't trying to get you out of owing money. They want you constantly, all the time, having to make payment so that comes out of your paycheck every week. They want you to always owe them money.
In the immortal words of Eddie Murphy's father, nothing from nothing leaves nothing.
That's
you gotta do something for a motherfucker to punch you in the mouth, right? So if they're like we look at how the bottoms fell out with the subprime mortgages, we look at how they had to change the real estate industry, because at a point, Marcus, everything breaks. And that's the only problem. You know what I mean? Like, you can't have 40% of the country that are owing loans that they're really not paying. You know what I mean? There has to be a return on that investment, right?
Right, but you and I are paying it. The problem is what's paying for instance, what's paying for these relief programs that they've got is you and I. You and I are paying that. We pay it with our taxes. Like we talked with Dan, Taxationist Theft Berman. None of the, people say without the government, without taxes, who would build the roads, or who would have, none of that shit goes to that. None of it. Not a penny of it. Most of it goes to the debt. But also where taxation funds shit like government keeping itself in money through things like the education system. Again, I agree it needs reform, but it is never going to happen from the government, because the government the government is in bed with making this shit happen for sure. They are part of the problem, because what they do is they institutionalize it so that you have to, pay your speech teacher. Yeah, for instance, in Indiana, you have to have a speech class in every single class. Why the fuck would somebody, for instance, if you went to, I'm going to use where I went to college. I went to college at Vincennes University. If you go to Vincennes to be a welder, you have to take a speech class. Why the fuck do you need a speech class to be a fucking welder?
Oh, you're saying for every degree program you have.
Right.
And they have college level welding.
Right.
You said they had college.
Yes, they do.
I weld well.
No, like those guys that weld underwater and shit. They got to go to college. I know that.
Right. Yeah. They have
That's
a welding class.
degree.
Yeah.
That's a whole different spectrum.
Right. And it's because they're funneling that money into their pockets. Because they're institutionalizing multi-million-dollar entryways into the fucking school instead of paying a goddamn teacher a decent wage. They're doing things like, instead of buying new equipment for their school, they're funding fucking making it look pretty when you walk in, so that you got flowers on shit.
So you drop more money.
Right. Right.
No, facts. I mean, they know where the bread is buttered. Shit, it's what I mean. Like you gotta respect the grift to a certain degree.
You do. They're like, should we get better teachers, or do we need a Starbucks right here?
It's like that. It's like that. It's totally.
What is it? My high school. I appreciate it for giving me a diploma and for whatever that stands for, but it was a high school for football. It was Homewood Flossmoor, and I was part of the wrestling program. And granted, it's wrestling didn't get as much love, but
kind of a
the fact that
you don't know, like Nicco.
Look, not to flex, but I had an opportunity. Look, due to the lack of certain confidence that wasn't instilled into me, I didn't have that mindset. But like I kind of developed it. I developed it when I got out of school. Like, I'm a badass. Like, I legit had the opportunity to go with the Junior Olympics. Like, I had people who just rock with your boy. So I mean, yeah, but it got no love. It was HF, and they were like almost state champions, and they'd fund the money into the football program. They got stadiums. They had an indoor turf. They had like another a turf stadium. Like, it went straight into, and like the coaches got paid.
Friday Night Lights, right?
The coaches got paid. Yes, Friday Night Lights to the T. And the coaches got paid bank, and like all the money that we really were supposed to go to, like I was in CP classes, this college prep. That shit was bullshit. I would like to point out, and everybody knows this, that it's garbage that they like to segregate people based off of knowledge. No, it's how I learn. So they separated it. And we had two buildings. We had two buildings for my high school. It was a north and a south. And then there was a path that you would walk. The north building had all the smart kids, the IB programs, and they would get the money and funding for their things. We still over here, like we back in the civil rights days, and my textbooks are garbage. Like, we
shall overcome.
It's garbage how the system is. And so it puts kids down into like the mental state of, oh, I'm dumb. I always personally thought I was dumb. And then I found out that I kind of like books, and I find out like I like these different areas of thinking, but it's everything has been a system. And like, if it's something that provides revenue, we just gonna keep pumping it. We just gonna keep pumping it. We just gonna keep pumping it. And it's like the parents, they're a part of it, and they see, oh, wow, that's a great school. 2 years ago or whatnot, HF had the whole little blackface incident. We had a blackface incident. And the crazy thing is, I knew the kid who did it. And he was a part of the wrestling team. That boy got it was going to be bad. It was going to be bad for him. But he felt comfortable. He felt okay because he was with certain programs. He was with certain roles. And he knew that he was just going to be good. Besides him being white, he just knew he was going to be good. And it's like, y'all don't see that like there's a big issue with schooling and with how things are funneled, especially with funding. Like, right. Come on now.
Yeah, but America is supposedly a meritocracy, right? So, it's supposed to be what you put out, with the energy you put out, you should reap the benefits of those of the energy you put out, right? So the way that they look at school's a meritocracy, right? Like you're a great football player, we're going to pay attention to you more. You're a great student, we're going to put you in a better class. You're going to have a better resources. And that's just how life is, right?
Facts.
The genius in what I see is kids like you, right? Because you see a guy like you're a grown man now, but you know what I mean? From what I understand, you're in your early 20s. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm still a baby. I'm wet behind the ears, man.
Like for me, I got a pair of Jordans upstairs that's older than you. You know what I'm saying? And that's no disrespect.
I got shirts that are in my closet in my dresser that are older than Nicco for sure.
But you know what the thing is? The thing that I see is, man, I see the greatness in you. You know what I'm saying? And just because they weren't able to unlock that greatness, you found it on your own. Mm-hmm. So that's the genius about what happens in life, man. Like we all get obstacles put in front of us, right? So we can't make school this perfect place. We can't make life this perfect place. We can't make America this perfect place. But the thing that makes America, a great place, and the thing that makes life great is the journey. Trying to get to the what we think America should be. Like the one biggest thing I think, Marcus, not to go back to what we were talking about a long time ago, but the biggest problem we have in America is that we're lying to ourselves. We're lying to ourselves. We're telling ourselves that we are the greatest country in the world. We're not the greatest at anything, bro. The only thing we are is we're the curators of culture to the rest of the world. That's it. We don't manufacture anything. We are not the best in education. You know what I mean? We're not the best at anything tangible. We don't make anything here. The thing that makes America great is the ideal of what America's supposed to be.
For sure.
That's
You're
it.
right. You're right. And the thing is that idea that was America is dead. We need to mourn it.
We have unparalleled ability to bomb people into freedom.
Right.
Come on.
It is dead. And we can
jump it. We can jump it. We can get the defibrillator, can't we?
Right. For sure. But we have to do that. And we have to follow the lessons that we were taught. And we've got to do it better. We have to learn from people like Thomas Paine, or we have to learn from people like Thomas Jefferson and say, fuck your system. It is time to do better. And what we need to do is do it ethically. One of the problems that people like to throw at the founding fathers is they owned slaves. They were Masons. They make no doubt about it. There was a component of the founding fathers and especially of the framers that were bent on enslaving this entire nation. And it worked. They enslaved this entire nation. So what we need to do is grow a pair and go back to that fiery energy that was the Declaration of Independence. And it is time for us to sign our own independence and say with it together, but in one voice, I am an individual. I own myself, and I will not be subservient to anyone. And that's the energy we need to recapture.
Man,
it's
going to be very, very hard to tell people, it's weird. It's almost like I don't think people look behind the Wizards, curtain. People are still under the illusion that we're always the good guys and we're always right.
I know for sure.
And everyone has the best intentions.
I will say this though, that veil has been lifted a little bit. People have seen a little bit behind that curtain when they've seen some of the things that have gone on in the last, 10, 12 years. And this last year, there was some other shit that's been on display when you see these politicians shutting people down, locking them in their homes for months, and then going to weddings and parties and, going and doing their own thing, eating dinner indoors with 20 people when they're telling everybody you can't eat even outdoors with 5 people. Shit like that. Like there's some of this stuff that's starting to erode that illusion, but make no mistake about it. We've got a lot of work to do. And one of the things that I appreciate is like you dropped some gems on our audience and on us about like the stuff that you're doing with your kids and the stuff that you're talking to people about with how to kind of recapture that cultural element that we seem to have lost from our generation in the 80s when kids went outside and they didn't come home until it was dark. And I mean, yeah, you still had that thing where like if the street light came on and you were still outside, you were in trouble, you know. But like when the sun started going down, that's when you were supposed to come inside. And until then, you didn't. Your parents were like, "Get the fuck out of here! What are you doing?"
We were a community.
Yeah,
we were a community.
You could trust your neighbors, and like everybody knew where they recognized the kids when they saw them and stuff like that. That's one good thing about this place where we live now. I like where we used to live for the kids that lived in our neighborhood because my kids stayed outside all the time playing, across the street and in the yard and up and down the street and everything with them. But now here, like they get to go fishing in the backyard and they're learning some stuff that they weren't learning. Like my kids were city kids until this last year, and now they're learning how to operate a boat. They're learning how to fish, how to set up a hook, how to put a lure on a hook. And then,
preparing for the apocalypse, baby. They know how to fish. They know how to escape in a boat, everything.
Yeah, how to pull that hook out of the fish without tearing your hands up and everything. All that good stuff. Get a good set of pliers and, do this shit the right way. But anyway, it's really good to have these kinds of conversations where we can actually talk through where do we go from here. Because we spent a lot of time talking about some of the issues, but we didn't just stay there. We spent a good bit of time talking about how do we extract ourselves from this. And I will say this, like on the thing with education, it can be because governments have done this for a long time. People in power have done this for a long time where they use the newest technologies as like weapons against the people or to consolidate their power. But they also they allow us to use that technology too. And we are capable of turning that back on them in a way that is we get claim and to use that stuff for our benefit. And so let's not miss the opportunity here. Let's take advantage of the fact that we have all of these different tools where we can come together and have these conversations where our kids can learn skills online that they can get instead of watching shit on Disney. Go to like Skillshare or something, or go do research some YouTube videos on like drawing and building a radio or rebuilding an engine. Like there's all this kind of shit that you could do. Like I learned how to replace the blower motor in my my old Ford Edge by going onto YouTube and pulling up a video. I was like, oh, all right. So I just pop out the glove box and the air intake filter or whatever is under there. I couldn't find the damn thing. But anyway, it's like just shit like that where there's this wealth of information out there by the same people who are trying to restrict information and censor, but also like indoctrinate you. They're also like letting the cat out of the bag, and either unwittingly or completely wittingly, I don't know, but we have opportunities to seize this moment for ourselves and to not just be the drones who like get indoctrinated and programmed.
1,000%.
For sure. All right, so it's been almost 2 hours, so we probably ought to let Jonesy go. We could probably go on forever and ever.
Yeah, we could, man. It's been a pleasure, guys.
Right.
Thank you for showing up. Thanks a ton.
Make sure you guys go follow the Podfather, the Wasted Talent podcast. And man, I'll tell you what, this dude he may not realize he's an anarch, but he is. And I think he's there.
Look, I'm already there, man. I'm already there.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what, again, it takes us coming together to set the world free. And it takes powerful voices to change minds. And Jonesy is one of those powerful voices. And I'm glad that he could join us. And I'm glad that we could help to raise his voice a little higher. And hopefully he will raise ours a little higher because, again, we need each other. Yep.
Look,
It's
look,
the
you
community,
guys know
baby.
it's all this group we got. It's all family, man.
Right.
So we're gonna keep it
Hell
going.
yeah.
It's wasted anarchy.
Look, when shit hits the fan, I'm sliding to Chad. If not Chad, Marcus. Jonesy, your house open for me?
Yeah, all right, baby.
Hey,
we got a
look,
room
look,
for you.
look,
We got a room
look,
for
look. When shit hit the fan,
you. You gotta
I'm
bring the
booking.
books though, man.
Oh man, I'll lug them over my shoulder. I'll lug them over my
Get up
shoulder.
like this with great.
Today about off the grid, like collaborating and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, yes, I'm in there. And then I went to try to add people, and it like sent me to my contacts or something. And I tried to get out and go back, and I was like, oh fuck, it went away. So I'm gonna have to go back in there and figure that out. But while we're at it, I want to remember our the rest of our family, our patrons, our other anarchs. So we got Natasha, Timothy, Darian. I saw Natasha and Darian in the chat here tonight. Gabriel, Hotep Daryl, love Daryl. He's in our Anarch chat. If you aren't already, let us know that if you want to get in on the Anarchy chat or the Anarch chat. We have that on Telegram, so you just need to let us know so we can add you to that. We've got Daryl, Halima, and obviously the guys here. So yeah, well, no, but she's not in the chat. I'm saying like the people who aren't in the chat. But
No,
so we got
was in the chat earlier though. She was, I think, right?
No, I mean in our Telegram chat.
Oh,
in our Telegram chat. Yeah. Not the live chat here. But also Brody and Saul and Halima. We love you guys. We appreciate you. And absolutely, let me not forget, I put it down on our little scroll here. I want everybody to remember, like, if you get a chance, go support the guys at libretv.co. That's they're when we inevitably and invariably get banned from YouTube.
When the day comes,
we be on Libre TV. For now, we are simulcasting, but it won't be long. I think we'll be single casting over there.
Digital gulag.
But no, go support those guys because they are creating a place for a lot of free thinkers to go and express themselves and have conversations that in a lot of times it's the difficult conversations that create the most growth. So we can't shy away from difficult conversations. We need to have them. We need to embrace that discomfort that may come from that, because that's how I met some of the people here. That's how I came to the ideas that brought me here. And a lot of us did the same thing. So we love you guys. And remember, like, share, subscribe, 2 shares to speed the spread of this podcast. Don't ever forget that. And go to the Patreon to join the family there and the Anarch chat and support the podcast. So we can get all of our visual and audio shit like on point every single time.
right.
Jonesy, any parting words, my friend?
Nah, I just want to say thank you guys. Love you guys, man. And I hope to do this again, man. You know, like this has been powerful.
Nah, most definitely. This gotta happen. Man. This was fun.
Sure.
This was fun.
Yep, my brother from another mother, man.
That's right. And Chad, don't hate on the bond, Chad. That's all. Don't hate on the bond. Send your market to here. You know, don't get it between, man.
All right.
All right, guys, this has been fun. We'll talk to you later, and
All right, now,
see us
guys.
next week.
Yes.
Love.
Don't forget.
Stay free.
Stay free, my friends. Yes.